It's Wise, the Hustle God, aka Coach Low the Bad Man, aka Michelangelo the Man in Many Names. And we reaching in our finance tool bag one more again. Shout out to the mighty LGBC, TWT, Trilitary, and the whole CBC, the Code Black community. It's a Code Black affair. Ways to support will be linked in the description below. Welcome, welcome to the HGM Hustlecast, where we interview entrepreneurs, industry specialists, and high performers on finance, business building, and industry specific tools you can use now to help you elevate and optimize your business today. That said, I want to welcome a very special guest to the show, to the class, to the workshop, and this individual is in working in the community I'm from. Uh, is an attorney at law. Uh, is a high performer, and is partnered with a non-for-profit Operation Better Block that I'm new to finding out about, but has been operating in Homewood in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I'm from, for years and doing amazing things for the city of Pittsburgh in its entirety. Um, but that said, again, I want to welcome a very special guest to the show, attorney at law, Gilmer. Um, so we'll just wait a second for him to click in. He'll be clicking in shortly. Um, Again, guys, any questions you may have, feel free type them in the chat, and we'll try to uh, act, act, we'll try to get to them as best we can, um, and as frequently as we can. Uh, but I do have a list of questions that I want to get off for um, educational purposes and insight purposes. So again, in the high performer side of things, we would like to give as much insight as we can for the people who seek to take this path to success. Welcome, Queen Tay Tay. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you. Every Everyone who's stopping by, please jump in the chat. Let it be known. I appreciate that. Tap that like button. Um, right now, we're just setting up for our guest to tap in. We have an attorney, Pittsburgh local. We'll get a lot more insight about him and get his story shortly. But certainly a high performer, someone I met recently at a summit, expo style nonprofit workshop. Um, and actually, one of our future interviews, our interviewees, is in the chat now, so we'll get more insight regarding that industry and being a high performer in that industry uh, very soon. Um, and thank you very much. I definitely appreciate that. So we may be having a little technical difficulties. We're just waiting on our guests to join in now. Um, I'm going to see if I can reach him. And once he clicks in, then we're good. I'm going to turn this fan down. It's probably messing up my audio. Sorry, guys. 1 second. But please pull up, come by, um, catch the replay if you can't stick around. But tap in the chat. Tap in the chat and let us know how what you may think or any questions you may have. Sorry, just reaching out now to the guest again, just to make sure that we're clear on time. But I appreciate everyone stopping by. Here we are now, actually. Alrighty, so I'm gonna redo this intro real quick. Welcome to the HGM Hustlecast, where we interview entrepreneurs, industry specialists, and high performers on finance, business building, and industry-specific tools you can use now to help you elevate and optimize your business today. That said, I want to welcome a very special guest to the show, attorney at law, uh, partner with nonprofit Operation Better Block, local to Homewood, the community I'm from in Pittsburgh, PA. Jay Gilmer. Welcome. How are you doing? How you feeling?
Good morning. I'm feeling great. It's a good day to be here in Homewood.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I was just giving them a little bit of background on how we met. We met at a summit, expo style festival for non for profits. But can you give them a little bit of background on who you are and where you're from?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry I'm late. I had a few technological problems, but I'm here. I'm happy to be here. I came to Pittsburgh 40 years ago from New York City. Came here to practice law. I was at a big law firm at the time. Learning some things that I probably had no business learning, but I was learning them anyway. It was quite an adventure to learn about the world of corporate corporate lawyers, how the world really operates. And I'd never been in that world prior to coming to Pittsburgh. So I was at a large law firm in downtown Pittsburgh. We're doing corporate law, we're doing mergers and acquisitions, we're doing business financing. And a lot of I've learned that our system is set up for business, and the business law is a tool for business. Things I had not known before coming out and from the world that I came out of. We weren't really big business people. We were small business people, but not that the world of big business and high finance was different for me. So I did that for a few years. Did a lot of work, of course, business finance, also business franchising. But eventually, the people that I started to encounter were not in big businesses. So I got kind of attracted into the nonprofit space. After my big law firm life, I was a general counsel of a small business. I became a business owner myself for a few years because I had seen what business was all about, and I got the bug. I wanted to own my own business, so I did that for a few years. Lost a few dollars, learned a lot of lessons, but came out the other side stronger. Eventually, got hooked up with a nonprofit venture in Homewood that was started by Reverend Ricky Burgess called FaithWorks. It was through the Five Cs Corporation at the corner of Lang and Hamilton, right across from the
Hmm.
Homewood Library. I was teaching nonprofit entrepreneurs, people who want to start nonprofits, how to do that, how to take advantage of their own skills and utilize the opportunities that they saw to create ventures that would support and encourage community members to do things. So I was doing that for a few
Okay.
years. I started a lot of different ventures. After that, after Reverend Burgess got elected to the city council, um, he brought me down to the city of Pittsburgh, and I became stop the violence coordinator for the city of Pittsburgh in 2009. Prior to his running for city council, we've been talking about violence prevention strategies, and we recognized that there were some real strategies that worked. The work that we had been doing was really just one component of those strategies, but in order to really do the job, we needed to do more. So he brought me downtown. I was the Stop the Violence coordinator starting in 2009, and at that point, for the first time, the city invested money in violence prevention using credible messengers on the street outreach workers, finding the social services that individuals that were at high risk would need in order to avoid getting engaged in criminal activities. And we saw some results. We didn't have all the results we wanted to see, but we started seeing results. We fought against some systems that were not necessarily encouraging to us, but we kept fighting that fight and eventually prevailed. I stayed there for 14 plus years, and then and then came to the position that I'm in now. In the meantime, I've been involved in lots of different boards of directors. I'm currently president of the board at Pittsburgh Urban Christian School, which is in Wilkinsburg. And if you have any kids that are looking for a Christian education, a progressive Christian education, they can give us a call. I'm also the president of the board of Foundation of Hope, and we do chaplaincy and pre-release inside of the Allegheny County Jail. We also have a very robust aftercare division, which is providing help for people that are coming out of jail and their families. So whatever needs people have, we can find a way to solve those. I'm also president of the board of Lincoln Leamington Enhanced Housing, which is an apartment building on Lincoln Avenue in Lincoln Leamington, which is my neighborhood. And in that building, we have apartments for single parent families that have kids. So I'm interested in that too. I'm also part of Greater Pittsburgh Area Mad Dads, which is Men Against Destruction, Defending Against Drugs and Social Disorder. And we're here to show that men have a great role to play in our communities, and when men play their proper role, then certain problems start to go elsewhere, start to disappear, do not appear, because the men's role is very significant, and women have done a great job, but men have got to play their part too. So that's what we're there for. And now I'm at Operation Better Block. So that's
And
my introduction.
sir, you are most certainly a high performer. That there's no doubt about that. And there's so much to unpack there. So you already know I have a script of questions, and there's a lot um, like
I'm ready
that
for you.
a lot that has jumped out at me, especially when you talk about the education for people who build nonprofits, or your experience and introduction to law being a tool for business. So there's a lot that we have to unpack one by one, but I'm blown away by just your introduction alone. So where you spend most of your time at these services, where the following question would be, what do you do now, and what are the prioritized services? But you have a lot of affiliation. So where you spend most of your time, what do you do there, and what are the prioritized services there?
Well, I spent my paying day job is as executive director of Operation Better Block. We are
Ah,
in we are out here in Homewood at the corner of Homewood Avenue and Bennett Street. We've been here for 50 years. Our mission is to strategize, organize, and mobilize block by block to benefit the Homewood community. And we've been doing that for a long, long time. Um, we provide technical assistance and community development assistance to individuals on their blocks. We help to organize block by block so that people can understand what opportunities exist, so that we can
mhm.
bring needs to the attention of officials who have the ability to change some of those to meet some of those needs. um, we provide direct services to individuals. So if people have, and the reason we do direct services is because we know that there's a lot out here. If people have a need for food, for housing assistance, for reentry services, for um, various benefits of various kinds, there's plenty out here, and most usually we can find it somewhere. So we have a staff that is specialized in helping people to navigate government benefits, whether it's nutrition stuff, whether it's Social Security, whether it's taxes, whether it's housing vouchers, etc. We have places that we have sources that we have identified that exist for everybody. It's not a mystery or a secret, but we do have a staff that is trained and focused on helping individuals find those benefits. We also have some homeowner stabilization work. One issue in the communities is tangled titles. It's like lack of wills. That when people die, then nobody knows where their property goes. Sometimes we don't unfortunately don't take advantage of the probate laws and the tricks that are available, that are not secrets, but the tools that the system has created to enable wealth to pass from generation to generation. So
Yeah.
if a very common is for someone to if someone lives in the house with their parents, they move out, then when the parents get old, they move back in, take care of the parents die, have no will. One of the six kids moved in to help dad and mom, but the other ones dispersed around the country. Maybe then one of them has their own kids, maybe then one of them is dead now. And so the question is, who owns the house?
Right.
A big issue. And if we don't know who owns the house, then that means, and you're not on the deed to the house, that means when that roof leaks,
Um,
you can't get a loan to fix the roof. If you don't have enough cash in your pocket to get it fixed, you got to get a second mortgage or take out a home equity loan. And if you're not on the deed, or not on the deed for that property, you can't do that. So you can't get that roof fixed. So eventually it gets worse and worse, and you eventually move out and leave the house behind, and the house eventually deteriorates if somebody moves into it, a squatter, and
mhm.
it starts a fire. The house gets messed up, but then it becomes one of these dilapidated houses sitting on the street, and that's not a good thing for your community. So we do have a division that helps to figure that out. You've got to find those relatives. They got to sign a piece of paper that to give the rights to somebody, and then eventually someone can take ownership of that property. But this has been going on for many years as a result of not being enough attorneys in the communities to help people and to give this kind of simple advice. So we do have a division that helps people to get through those tangled titles. And if they're interested in finding out, just give our office a call on Monday at 412-731-1908, and we can connect you to the people that do that. We also know how important it is to have a will, how important it is to be able to transfer that wealth generationally. So we'll help you to do that too. Um, we also have
Quick.
a violence prevention division here at Operation Better Block that's now working in schools, it's working on the streets, and and assisting in some very contemporary and robust methods of having youth that might be influencers in those schools, help to influence in the right directions. So we are involved in that as well. And another big thing that we do, we have our Junior Green Corps, which is part of our green initiatives. So we have an out of school time program for youth who live in the neighborhood, so that they can get exposed to careers in green services, whether it's agriculture, whether it is environmental remediation type stuff, environmental protection, whether it's green space protection, things like that. So that's available as well, and our students that are in our program get paid a stipend. And we're aiming at kids from this neighborhood to expose them to things so that they can see the opportunities that might be available to them. And again, to find out about those services, just call our phone number, 412-731-1908, and you can have access to those services as well. So that is what I spend most of my time doing, is managing Operation Better Block with all these different components. I'd be remiss to mention that Operation Better Block has been around 50 years. We've been involved in a good number of the projects that have been built in Homewood over the years. Uh, we are it's a long and illustrious history, although it's always been a struggle. But that struggle has produced a lot of fruit over the years. I'm just happy to be here now. I've only been here a month and a half, but I'm happy to be able to follow in the shoes of Mr. Givner, Kerry Washington, Aaliyah Durham, Jerome Jackson. I mean, these people are superstars, and I'm just happy to be able to have that God has given me the opportunity to follow in their footsteps, and hopefully I can do a good job and have as much of an impact as they've had over the years.
I'm certain with your track record alone that won't be extremely difficult for you. Someone for of the likes of you. That said, it inspires a follow up question. It's not written down. I apologize, but what is it like navigating through all of these different or facilitating all of these different services and resources that you guys provide? Are a lot of these like partnership with other organizations or and outsourced? And then I have a second piece to that. The other part of navigating through these services and resources that you provide, like in the chat, Tay Brown says, my parents right now are struggling to get Medicaid, and my dad is suffering from dementia. That is an example of someone who a like may not be aware of services like these, and what is that communication process like with making people aware of these resources that you provide? You know what I mean? So firstly, like what is it like facilitating all of these resources or these services? Are they being outsourced? Are you partnering with other organizations to be able to manage so many? And then what is it like at the ground level for your target demographic? What has that process been like for you thus far, at least?
Mm-hmm. Well, my job is to make sure that Operation Better Block has the infrastructure and capacity to enable these other things to exist. So I'm not providing a lot of these services myself personally, but we have
Right.
staffs that do these things, and then their job is to utilize their own expertise, and do things themselves if they can, where they or make a referral where they cannot. So there's some of the services we offer are with partners. We have partners for almost everything we do because we can't
Mhm.
do it alone. We do need the
Right.
entire community to make these things work. Our Bridge to Benefits, which is where our direct service division. I mean, we there are many things where you just need to know who to call in order to get the help
Yes.
that you need. Sometimes we
Yes.
are able to provide a little bit of rent assistance or something or tax preparation to somebody, but oftentimes it is just knowing the right office to call and not giving up
Mhm.
when you don't get your phone call answered quickly, or you don't understand what some of the questions are that they're asking you, that we can just help you to navigate through those systems. So we do partner with other groups to do that sort of thing. Our Junior Green Corps partners with the YMCA, which is right across the street, with Bible Center Church and some of their programs, and again, right across the street, and with other programs here in Homewood, Community Empowerment Association, and the Promise Center and others, because we can't do it all. We're not going to
Mhm.
try to do it all. We utilize contractors, we utilize partners to do a lot of the work that we do. We it's not the intention is not that you become dependent on Operation Better Block. Is that you're empowered so that you can do these things yourself, and they can help your family, your friends, your neighbors to do the same thing for themselves. So
Right.
I mean, that really is the space that we're in to try to enable people to do what they're doing. And unfortunately, we're living in a society where there has not been a great value placed on the capacity that these groups like ours need. So my challenge is to mobilize the resources necessary so we can have uh, program so we can maintain the existing programs and add on new services that the community needs. OBB has had a lot of work, has done a lot of work in the past in the area of community development, and now that the landscape has shifted, our roles has got to shift. So there's now lots of folks trying to do things on the community development side. So our role
Mhm.
really becomes more of a neighborhood advocate. So we're here to help the neighborhoods to be connected to the opportunities that are coming, so that the developers that are trying to do projects in this neighborhood um,
Mhm.
work with the Homewood Collaborative, Community Development Collaborative, in order to um, have enough minority contractors on their project to make sure the community members get the jobs that are provided by their projects, so that the projects comply with the Homewood community development plans that have been made over the years. So it's not just someone coming in and doing what they want to do, but that it is something that's going to be friendly to the community, enabling community residents to benefit. We know there's going to be new residents that are going to come to this neighborhood, but that does not mean we need to displace the current residents. We
Right.
want to have opportunities for all. We want to have mixed incomes. We want to have local jobs. We want to have local opportunities as well.
Amazing. You so okay. Again, another off the script question. We'll get back to the script. So I'm looking at your journey. It's like so. It seemed like you started in like legal, general legal, like law focus, and then it went into a business law focus, and now it's more of a legal leadership law focus, business humanitarianistic, philanthropic role. What was there a psychological shift along the way where obviously being a specialist or um, a high performer to become attorney in general, it takes a lot of years and a lot of focus. But you have a what we call in the world of like drama, the hero's arc or the hero's journey. You start at one place and you ended up in another, and it's like it wasn't in the spectrum of how a story is built, exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. It just seems like your trajectory is straight up. But what what is the ideology behind the shift? Because you could have easily stayed in law and just been eviscerating people in the court system. You could have easily stayed in the business franchise space and focused on what would behoove you financially and not necessarily worry about the macro or the world or the community. in its entirety. And then you transition from, again, a business legal space into a nonprofit, giving, a community focused. What is that journey like for you, and how
Okay.
did that journey bring you to today?
Well, let me give you a nice long answer to that question because I mean, some of the questions that you asked previously that I was ready to answer fit right into that. Um,
Perfect.
my grandfather, who lived in Baltimore, Maryland, owned a corner store. He had a desire to have a chain of stores, and this is way back in the 50s. And he was ready to move to the suburbs and start opening supermarkets. And unfortunately, his wife and children, including my mother, said, "We don't want to move to the suburbs." So he stayed in the city. But he had vision. He was a visionary. He could have been a grocery store magnate way back when. That was on my mother's side. On my father's side, my grandfather attended the University of Pittsburgh School of Pharmacy and
Mm,
graduated in 1919. 1919. That's a long time ago. That was only 50, 60 years after slavery. He was in
mhm.
the University of Pittsburgh Pharmacy School and then went to the Howard University Medical School. So he became a doctor and a pharmacist and then moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I am from. And he was the head of the NAACP chapter there. NAACP meaning National Association for the Advancement of Colored
Yeah.
People.
Mhm.
And he was there in 1927. He was the head of that chapter. So he was a political activist even then. My mother was in the 1950s, is from Baltimore, and she was working for the government doing doing math. She had a math degree. She was doing bombing trajectories for the military. She was a hidden figure, therefore. That's what she was doing, that very same type of work. But she thought it was too boring. She wanted to have a family, so along came me in the late 1950s. She continued to went on and got a PhD, and she and my dad were at the March on Washington in the 60s. She's got a collection of materials in the Library of Congress today, which
So
and
one real quick before you, I'm not gonna. I want you to continue on. I just have to insert. So you literally have a lineage of high performing, like high performers from start to, and that's just from where you began. But please continue. This is
yep.
amazing.
Um, and I will say, I'm not saying this to brag on me, but it does show that there's a history. There is a lineage of people that have done things, and we all have that lineage. You have it too.
Yep.
We have to find the lineage. We've got to
Yes,
make
sir.
the connections between these things. It is
Mhm.
very impressive that my grandfather owned a little corner store. I mean, on its surface, that doesn't look overly impressive, but it is impressive. He was an
Yes.
entrepreneur back in the
Yes.
early days, and he was denied opportunities to do certain things, but he kept on working in his community. And I'll
Mhm.
continue on with my father, who was a community activist and businessman for many years in Milwaukee. He had his own construction company. He was buying real estate. At this, the legend is that Henry Aaron, home run king, lived in his apartment in Milwaukee when he was with the Milwaukee Braves as a young baseball player. I'm not sure if that's even true.
Wow.
I heard that story. It might be true. So when I went to New York University Law School. I mean, my mother we go to law school. I went to New York University. As I said earlier, I was in a corporate law firm, and when I started to notice how business was done, I started to notice who was attracted to whom. I noticed, you've heard of business being done on the golf course. Well, yeah, that's true. And at the country club, at the Duquesne Club, that's true. And I was at some of those occasions, I had some of those experiences. Um, but those weren't necessarily the people that I would see on a day-to-day basis. I was going to church at that time when I first came in Holy Cross Episcopal Church in Homewood, and I was meeting people that were high achievers there, but there weren't many attorneys there. Uh, there was not, and when I started to venture beyond that church, which actually did have a couple of attorneys, but other churches had no attorneys at all. So people would
Mhm.
come to me, they'd see me, they'd hear about me, and they'd have relatively simple questions. They weren't asking about complicated corporate finance questions. Um, One of my mentors, Bernard Jones, who started Urban Youth Action, whose son Cornell Jones is now the street outreach
Yes.
coordinator for the city of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I mean, Bernard was one of my mentors. When he saw me when I was a young lawyer, and he brought me to Urban Youth Action, put
We
me on their
found it
board of
one
directors.
hood together.
What's that?
Sorry. I'm sorry. We found it one hood together. Cornell Jones.
There, yes,
I
there,
was the youth member, the first kid
that's
member of one
there
hood.
we
But
go.
I'm
There
sorry.
we go.
Continue.
So yeah, when I went to the office of Urban Youth Action, I saw they had their articles of incorporation on the wall in a picture in a frame. And I said, why would you do that? I mean, at the law firm, we do this every day. We have paralegals do this. This is no big deal. But it was a big deal for them because in the African American world, that wasn't all that common.
Mhm.
Here I was with people that are doing these things all the time, every day. So I started to the people that were gravitating to me were people that weren't looking for the sophisticated stuff. They would needed the basic stuff. They needed to know how to start an entity, how to make it run, how to make it flourish, how to utilize this the law as a tool to help their communities, to generate wealth, to make money. And so that was where the pivot came. And then I started once I started to see that, and that um, they weren't the ones that were meeting at the country clubs. They were the ones that was meeting at church or in community meetings, and they needed my services. So I started to do things to try to get closer to that space. There are the people I was going to see every day. And that is what this system is all intended to do. You help the
Mhm.
people around you. That's
Yes.
why little banks form in the community to help the community members out. That's, my grandfather, who was the pharmacist and medical doctor, he was living in the neighborhood too. He was living in a rental house in the hood. Way back in when I was born in the 50s. That's where he was. He wasn't living out in the suburbs. He was living right in with everybody else. We were all there. People were all together, and so they weren't. You didn't have the white corporate lawyers living there in the hood with the African American entrepreneurs. They were. This was separate but equal days.
Question.
Or
Just to pick at one of your analogies or phrases when you said business was done at one point on the golf course and in the greenery and in the golf clubs and things like that.
club,
I'm
yeah.
starting to see and I'm familiar with that history, that phrasing, that ideology, but I'm starting to see a lot more of the meld between the world of faith and business. My question is, like, are you seeing that as well? Like, I'm seeing that with young entrepreneurs. I'm seeing that with a lot of middle-aged entrepreneurs as well. And what what is that connection? Do you feel there's a connection there, or why there's been a lot of business and faith connection and relation in recent years as far as popularity?
Well, I mean the black experience in America has pushed us in certain directions. So faith has always had to be a very critical part of our lives
Yes.
because there was no hope at all. So there had to be so we had to hold on to our faith. And so the African American community has much more of a communal culture here in America because that's the way it's been. If you look at other countries, it's not quite so communal. That's why you oftentimes see people coming here from other countries. They start businesses. They act just like the majority population does in some ways, because they're not used to this. We're all suffering down here together, and we have to raise ourselves up all together. They come from a culture where we can do whatever we want to do. We just have to have the skills to do it, and that's why people come to America. So there is much more of a communal nature in the African American culture, and so therefore it's not surprising that many of the things we think about doing are based on the needs that we see in the community, as opposed to people that are uh, creating businesses based on their own interests. I mean,
Yeah.
but a lot of people that create a nonprofit because they see that people that are coming out of jail don't have any place to go, or
Mhm.
that kids need some job skills. They want to do that. They might not even like that to do that. They might not even want to do that, but they got to
Right.
do it because the community
Uh,
needs it. The community, I mean,
yeah.
God is telling them, you got to, you've given some gifts. You got to use those gifts, and that's why I'm here, because God has given me these gifts, and he wants me to be out here and doing things to help members of the community, and because these are the places where the spouses of my children and they are going to be coming from. It's coming these very places. It's probably not from someplace else. It's from here. So we need to help ourselves when we rise together or we fall together. And so
Mm-hmm.
my objective is that we rise together and that we take the leadership role, that we utilize these gifts, skills, and talents and the knowledge we gather along the way to to help all of us. It's only mentioned
And
a
I'm
couple of.
sorry,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry I derailed you because I did ask a question about one of your analogies, but I stopped you around where you were in your journey again from you know in your transitions, but you were mentioning your doctor who was living your doctor relative who was living in the community there, and you were taking it from your transition from again your family lineage to the ideology that took you from working in the actual churches and meeting people in the faith-based communities, and it was also bringing you to today. So I didn't mean to interrupt. That was just that jumped out at me when you were like business is done on golf courses, and I was like, yeah, I hear that a lot. And then you introduced here that business has, because of your relationship on a ground level basis, business was being done in a faith-based arena, and I've been seeing that. So I didn't mean to take you off, but please continue unpacking your transition in your journey.
I'll say that. I mean, the importance of relationships cannot be overstated. There, I mentioned Bernard Jones. I mean, the fact that he's the first person to ask me to be on a board of directors. I never thought of that, but he saw
Mhm.
that in me, and then took me to that next level. And over the years, people like Ricky Burgess, Pastor Ricky Burgess, Nazarene Baptist Church in Homewood. I mean, we were connected by Dan Honorado, actually. And so we did this FaithWorks project out here in Homewood, helping non individuals who had wanted to help their communities, to help them to get the skills that they needed to make those things happen. So another one of those individuals that helped along the way. And now, Reverend John Wallace out here at Bible Center Church in Homewood. And he is out here. He is putting the pieces in place so that try to make Earth look more like heaven. It is all of our divisions are always about making the community look like something that we are. It's going to benefit all of us. It's not ever for just one of us. It is for all of us. And so, as I started to see all the individuals that needed my help, were not looking for high levels of business finance. They were looking for simple stuff. Just
Mhm.
opening a bank account, just getting an employer ID number was a big deal. In the majority world, you just call someone that you knew from church and or from synagogue or wherever, and boom, you get something done. I mean, unfortunately, if you don't have those connections, you stand in line. You drive out there, the house is closed. You got to drive out there the next day. You make a call, and your call doesn't get returned. You wait. When you know the right person, it happened to us just a few weeks ago. We needed to get some work done at the bank. Um, so we waited, we tried to get help at one branch, didn't work. So we called another branch, found that someone that knew how to get things done, and he got the stuff done that we needed. And we there are rules, but when there's trust, that you can work within those rules to make things happen. You might be able to expedite things slightly, and that's exactly what happened. So that's what we needed. That's the that's what the lawyer role is to expedite things. It's to make sure you know the contacts, that you know how the law can be utilized as a tool to help you and not just to hurt you. It is to know that what person to call on the governmental side to get something done when otherwise you might have to stand in line to get something done. It's also to let you know what's reasonable, because you may not know you may not know what is reasonable to do, to think about. You may not know how to use the words in such a way that it'll get across to someone who's not thinking the way you're thinking. Now,
Mhm.
some of those things that's if you're at the corporate law firm, you know this because that's what you do. But if you're
Yeah.
not there, if you've never seen it, if it's not talked about at the dinner table, and in African American communities, you're not usually talking about finance stuff, then
Yes.
you miss out. I hate to use this example, but the former president, um, Mr. Trump. I mean, at his dinner table, they're talking about business, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he turns out to be a businessman. Like him or hate him, I mean, that's was not an accident.
Right.
Um, so I mean, if it's not talked about at your table, I mean, that's why in our communities, that's why you don't know who owns the house. I mean, in
Right.
black communities, you're calling someone mom, but it's not really mom. That you moved in at mom's house because mom needed help, but she wasn't really related to you. So
Right.
when mom dies, who owns that again? Who owns that house? It's not
Mhm.
you, unless you've done a few simple documents to change that. It's not you. It's somebody
Right.
else. And if
Right.
you don't have anyone at that table that can
Talk
say that,
about it.
go
Planning.
talk about it. Go to that banker. All they have to do is say, "Oh, do you have a payable on death on your bank account?" "Oh no, what's that?" "Oh, that means if you die, that the next person on that list gets the assets, and you don't have to go through probate, just like that." And all you got to do is sign that paper. It takes 1 minute, and all of a sudden, huge amounts of wealth can transfer. But
Right.
if nobody tells you, you won't even know to ask. So you can avoid probate altogether if you just know what to do. You can transfer your house just like that. Put different people on deeds just like that. These aren't simple. These aren't hard things to do. But if you don't know
Now,
to do them, it's like a foreign language. So that anyway,
because
that's how I ended up here. And I mean,
uh,
we need simple skills. We need more people to do these things in our communities, because because of historical patterns. I mean, we just haven't had as many law school graduates. We have not had as many bankers. We have not as many people doing this stuff. So that have paid the price for it, and it's hard to recover after you've been denied for hundreds of years.
yes, sir. Question. Mentors, past or present. I know you have partners and have had people who you've worked with, but any mentors, past or present, and anything that they've shared that was life changing that you learned that you can share with us that
I
you
mean,
feel is imperative to share.
absolutely. Well, let's mention Bernard Jones. I mean,
Yes.
he should have a statue somewhere. Started Urban Youth Action, started Poise Foundation. He was working at the Allegheny Conference when I met him. He taught me a lot. I mean, you've got to go for it. You've got to use these tools to benefit your community. People like Ricky Burgess running for city council and making some significant changes. Some just tremendous strides were made under his leadership, and his with his intellect and the team he was able to assemble to do a lot of good things in the community. Some of which go kind of unrecognized, but they're here. John Wallace, preaching, coming from a university perspective, and utilizing the university assets to benefit the community, to the research capacity, the willingness of students to serve communities. We don't have enough people in those capacities researching our problems. Solutions often come from research, and research comes from universities. It's not just a high school student doing a paper. It's a PhD level researcher who has evidence based stuff that says if you do this, then that's going to happen. And if they're not coming from your community, then they're going to have their own perspective and slant on things. We need it to come
Yeah.
from perspective. So John Walls, another one of those mentors. I'll mention some. I mentioned Ty Lee Thompson. Ty Lee Thompson, who in the reentry world is a superstar. He's been out here a long time. He has paid his dues. He has pulled together resources. He has more organized people. He's got just an incredible intellect to be able to put together programs to be able to help the rest of us to understand the needs of reentering citizens. Fortunately, he's on the staff here at Operation Better Block. He was here before I came and runs all of our violence prevention programming in the schools. I mean, he taught me. He was out there. He taught me about the importance of the community coming around your re-entering, returning citizens. That everyone, just because you have spent some time in jail doesn't mean that we have to throw you away.
Hmm.
That wasn't on my radar. My people, that had not been our history. But I mean, when I met him after coming to the city, he was already in the reentry world with One Vision, One Life, working with Richard Garland for many years, and because of his intellect, he's created some of the best software for street outreach workers that exist in America, and he helped create it. So
Wow.
he's definitely a mentor of mine to say that no, yeah, these we take these simple steps. These things are what is going to make the changes that the community needs. That we need more people to do that. That we need to stay focused. We don't need to get discouraged. I mean, there are times and it's easy to get discouraged, but then all of a sudden something changes. I say Cameron McClay. Cameron McClay. He was a police chief before Scott Schubert. That Bill Peduto put in place. I mean, when he came to town and wanted to focus on violence prevention, he was a mentor of mine as well. I mean, he really liked what we were doing. He wanted to spread that around. I mean, it was at that point that Cornell was hired as the violence prevention coordinator. I mean, I was in that position before Cornell had it. So, I mean, Cameron McClay, a police officer who's from Milwaukee, interestingly, from Madison, Wisconsin. Let's be
From
clear.
your hometown.
That's exactly right. Then
But I love.
there were some other people in the mix as well that I could mention. But you got another question?
Oh no, I just wanted to say I love that. I seen something recently somewhere in a interview I was watching that people the idea of having mentors in every area of your life can expedite your success in those areas of your life. So seeing that you have had multiple and that you still have more to name, that means that you're constantly looking at ways of improving, even though you're already a high performer and an industry specialist. And then again, a leader of an organization that is essentially has a target demographic that is everyone in the community. You know what I mean? And then it's surrounding areas. But
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what was the pressure? What is the pressure like performing at this level regularly, offering these services, being curious, being connected from a space in the heart, and then creating systems that may seem not fruitful in the beginning, and it seems like you're preaching to deaf ears because again, these aren't table talk conversations we have. So what is the pressure like to be consistent in performing at a high level and then creating services in which you're it's not like you just created a pair of Nikes and are marketing it and they sell themselves, you know?
Right. Well, you ask a number of questions there that I
Right.
can do my best to answer. There is lots of pressure because number one, you want to do well. You don't want to see things falling apart. You don't want to see people not being helped. You don't want to see the organizations you're involved with not succeed. So there are huge expectations that are placed on in many of the capacities that I am in. But we know that God has brought us. He's given us gifts, and He's not brought us here to fail, and that when we call on the Lord will answer. Will answer. So we got to make sure we do that. And I think one of your questions that you asked earlier is, what do you do to maintain your balance? And that's a big part of it. It's giving thanks regularly for even small victories. Today I was challenged in getting on this YouTube because I not didn't have this app. That's why it took me so long to get on. I had to download the app before I could get on the video. I thought I could just do it on my computer, so I was ready to do that. And
Sorry about that.
that's why I'm sitting in my office because I thought I'd be on the computer. I'd be a better place for it, but I didn't know it. So anyway, I had to learn that. So don't give up. Just continue to learn. Continue to um, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask simple stuff because something that's and even the word simple is one I don't like to use because simple to you just pop onto this app. That wasn't simple for me, and I had to learn how to
Right.
do it on the spot, and so I did it. Ask questions. There are no stupid questions. If people use words you don't understand, I mean, it took me a long time to get there. When I'm young, I don't want to ask them, "What does that mean? What does that mean?" Well, I don't mind anymore. Using words I don't
Right.
understand, I'm just going to ask you now. So because we know it doesn't help us to pretend we know, and we really don't know, and so you have to ask those questions. I mean, there's always more to do, and we can only do so much. So we can't try. Don't pretend that we can get it all done today or
Mhm.
tomorrow. Know that it's going to take time, and that we can't let ourselves get frustrated by it. Although my wife would say probably that I do get frustrated now and then, which is probably true. But we can't let that frustration beat us down, so we don't keep on trying and keep on doing the part we can do. Some other qualities that are important in dealing with all this pressure is not to be cocky about it. I mean, I think we can do a lot of things, but I'm not going to get it done tomorrow.
Right.
Out here in this community, we do want to get it done tomorrow, and we want to get it done with no money. That's not easy.
Right.
Last year, the city gave out $1 million to various organizations to help to violence prevention, and I know many people that were applying for this money, and I understand that their hearts are in the right place, and they want to help everybody, but it takes money to help people. And so,
Hmm.
I mean, you may have the best of intentions, but you're not going to help 1,000 people with $5,000. That's just you're not
Right.
changing their lives forever with $5,000. That's just not going to happen. It's not reasonable. Um, and we can't get discouraged because we couldn't do it. We have to find ways to do all we can with what we have and make the biggest impact with that versus trying to help everybody and with minimal impact. You can give a lot of stuff
Hmm.
away, but are we connecting you with systems and empowering you to get where you need to go? So there's always more to do. We just can't, we have to be realistic to know that we're not going to be able to solve all those problems with a little itty bitty money. When we first started at this, I first started at the city, we had I mean, our strategy had to do with utilizing credible messengers, which are street outreach workers, to intervene with high risk populations. Our first contract for street outreach was $75,000. I mean, you can't solve that big problem with $75,000.
That's not. That's.
That's unrealistic. But we did what we could do with that amount of money, and we stayed the course. Today, the street outreach contract is $2 million.
Mhm.
So we had to just stay the course. We had to not give up. We had to continue to communicate what we were doing. We had to maintain our focus on the strategies that we had, so that we were able to show some kind of results and some kind of progress. We can't change the entire violence problem in Pittsburgh with a $75,000 street outreach contract, but we can do something. And
Right.
that's what we had to do. Do something worthwhile, showing that this is the right way to go. So we did do something. We did a lot of good things. And we started another thing we started what we call PERK movement, positive initiative to reinforce changes. It was a support group for returning citizens. We went to Ty Lee Thompson and I went to Long Island, New York to find this model of a community, a support community for returning citizens, and we created it, and we have it in Pittsburgh right now. If you want to visit, come on a Tuesday night to the Foundation Hub at 540 Swissman Street on the north side, 7 o'clock at night, 1 hour. If you're a supporter, just come in and just share. It's a community. The idea is that you share your experience, that no one gets to the finish line by themselves, especially if you're a returning citizen. So I mean, unfortunately, condemned for the rest of your life to have that label on you, which is a
Mhm.
mistake that we make. But but if you work together, we can find our way through. If we don't get discouraged, we can keep on moving forward. So that's exactly what the community does. So we created that with even with that little bit of money we had. We got a van full of people and drove to Long Island to see what this was all about. Brought it back to Pittsburgh. It's still here today, and it is their community. It works. We're trying to
Yes.
expand it into a few new locations. We want to do more. So you reduce the pressure by having a reasonable, realistic expectation, and then teaching those who are placing expectations on us, like from the foundation funders or government officials or even community members. We've got to educate them as to what is reasonable. That it's not
Hmm.
but you're going to be able to change the whole community with a little bitty budget without capacity. We got to put those foundation stones in place, so that upon those stones we can build the next component of the solution. I mean, it
Hmm.
starts at young ages, but it goes all the way up to making wills. From youth to making a will, we got to do all those things, and you can't do them overnight, and it's very, very challenging. But here we are to help, and there's plenty of
Yes.
resources in Pittsburgh. We're not the only one that can help you along that road to help the community members to get the skills, the resources that they need, so they can succeed. I mean, it's out here somewhere. We just have to find it.
You're inspiring so many different thoughts in my head. I'm gonna stick to the script, and I have to be. You're being generous with your time, so I have to be very concise. So no more off-script questions from me. If you're speaking to the next you, and they know nothing, how would you describe the process of getting to where you are, who you've become? What specific certifications would you study in or outside of school to become who you are today? It doesn't have to be all of the hats because you are a man of who wears many hats. But if there's one area in your life that you prioritize and you're speaking to the next you, how would you tell them to get there and become who you are today?
Take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you. Believe it when they say that uh, if you put in this application and do your best and take that trip to that summer camp, that you can get somewhere. There are opportunities galore. There's always a next level. We think that because we did well in our small arena, that's going to get us to Broadway, or that's going to get us to Hollywood. No, that probably won't. There's a next level. You've got to find it. You've got to take the advantage of the interest that you have, and continue to work, to study, to learn, to meet the right people, to find the next level, whatever you're in. If you're an athlete, you know that there's a special summer camp for the high performers. It's not the same place. It's not the Boys and Girls Club League.
Right.
There's another league out there. There's the travel team. That is where the higher achievers are going. But that same kind of a thing exists in every area of endeavor. It exists in the arts.
Yes.
Uh, it exists in it exists in math and academic pursuits. It exists everywhere, and we have to find that we can't allow ourselves to think that just because we are letting get through school that we are where we need to be. We need to be working hard. We need to be making sure we're learning. We need to be asking questions and taking advantage of the opportunities. We need to be paying attention all the time. We can't be looking on anybody. We have to find the right bunch of folk who push us in that direction. That's going to be a direction where success is the outcome. So I would say to finding those mentors, whether it's from your church, whether it's from your community, whether it's from uh, a, a Big Brothers type organization, find those people that can really push you along, and then take advantage of those opportunities that you're going to find. I mean, there are college tours galore. There are resources all over the place, but we have to. But they're not going to come knocking. They're not going to break through the window. We've got
Right.
to open the window and let them in.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
ready to help you if you let them help you. You've got to take a little bit of initiative. We have to follow the right people. Don't follow people that are leading you down the wrong way. You got to follow those who can lead you the right way, which is hard. I mean, you're one of those mentors as well. You're out there in the community. People know you, and you know people. So you got to connect with those people. And one of your questions was, how do you find someone? Um, you look everywhere and you reach
Mhm.
out, just like you reached out to me. That's what you do. You go to the
Yes.
conference, you go to the conventions, you go to the community meetings. If they're there for a reason. Don't just sit back. Say something to them. When I was in high school, someone invited me to be on the state transportation commission when I was in high school because I talk to people. That's all. I was the youth voice. I mean, I didn't do hardly anything, but I was there. And I got there because people saw me, because people knew who I was, because I was active in my little high school groups. So they said, "Oh, why don't you do this?" Okay, then I was there. So that's what it takes. Is can't be afraid to be the only one. You may be the only black face in that room, but
Hmm.
that means you're learning something for the rest of the community that's going to help them as well as yourself.
And so to the next part of that, now you've spoken to the young you. You've articulated how and the what's to do to get to where you are, right? Even how to find a mentor as well as one of the follow-up questions. But what's the secret sauce? Like, so if you're doing the actions, if you're in the space, there's a lot of people who go through the motions, right? They're here, they're present, but they're not showing up. They're not retaining information. They're not applying the information. So what's the secret sauce? What's the formula to success, to performing at a high level like you do?
Well, you got to keep trying. You can't take no for an answer. You got to keep on finding new ways. You've got to modify your tactics, your strategies to meet the needs that you see, to meet the opportunities that are in front of you. You've got to be able to speak the language. You got to learn the vocabulary. You've got to be able to speak well. You've got to be able to relate to the people that are on the other side of the table. You've got to find something in common. They're not going to give you. They're not going to invest in you if you're just pounding on the table and being belligerent. You've got to find ways to speak the language that will be respected by those who are in possession of the resources, the assets, the knowledge that you're looking for. You don't take no for an answer. You don't look down on anyone. You don't throw no shade on anybody else and say they're not right. Give it to me instead of them. No, you just prove yourself by the work that you're doing and let your results speak for themselves. There will always be detractors, but then in your heart of hearts, you'll know that if you, but the work that you did produced X, Y, and Z results, and you're able
Mm,
to point to that and say, therefore, please invest in me. I'm not going to say don't invest in somebody else because we need all the groups that are out here because someone is being served there, but invest in me because here's the vision I have. Here are the resources I'm bringing to the table. Here are the collaborative partners that I have. So we are positioned properly, and we're going to be able to write the reports. We've got the proper board members. We know how to count our money. We're going to be responsible for it, and we're going to let our results. We're going to show you and demonstrate our results when they're at the proper time.
thank you. All right, so I only have like two or three more questions to ask you. Thank you for being generous with your time. I really can't thank you enough for that and your transparency as well. If you identify as successful, which you are, there's no debate about that. What does the next level of success look like for you? What is the next step in the game for you?
Well, the next step is to share with other people to bring up the next generations.
Yes.
That's why I'm here on a YouTube video on Saturday morning. I want talking to hopefully a younger audience. We need
Yes.
the younger audiences to understand that you guys you are standing on the shoulders of giants. You may not even know who they are. Much of our
Mhm.
history has been obliterated. We don't remember it. We don't keep track of it, but it's there. You are standing on those shoulders as well, and we want you to take. I want you to take my place because we need you. We need those younger voices. We need them to understand these systems. The systems are much more advanced now than they've ever been. The opportunities are greater than ever. The ability to we do have people in the research institutions today. We do have people in the foundations and running organizations all over the place now that we did not have 20 and 30 and 40 years ago. So the opportunities are greater than ever, and we have to take advantage of them. And so I want to teach whoever is interested in how to do what I've done so that they can take on these roles and do that for themselves. If we don't do that, there is no success without a successor. We can't let these institutions go. We've got to
Right.
inject new life into them, new young life that understands the contemporary problems, that knows how to use the contemporary solutions, the contemporary technologies to be able to solve problems, help people, to improve communities, and to make life better for all of us. So that's the next challenge. So if anyone's interested, give me a call. Call 412-731-1908 or send an email to Operation Better Block, JGILMER at obbinc.org. I'd be happy to talk
Cool.
to anybody. One of my tips to anyone who is interested, take someone to lunch. Say, I'll take it
I
all.
raised
I'll take
I
it all,
raised two
and we
hands.
will
I'll take you to lunch.
talk
How about
about
that?
what you want over lunch.
I'm sorry, say that one more time for those after me, but I'll take you to lunch because I'm raising my hand because I'm interested. But
Very
please say that again for the people listening.
Yeah, if when you see someone that you think has some knowledge, invite them to lunch. Say you'll pay for lunch. I'll take you to lunch, and you get an hour's worth, if not more, of good information, just for the cost of a lunch. And if you're out in Homewood, we'll go to the Everyday Cafe, which is our Homewood division. We'll go right over there. We can talk. You can meet whoever wanders in the door. I'm sure you'll meet somebody if you're over there. And then you'll be on the radar as well. So just you can give me a call, 412-731-1908. Take me to lunch. We'll find some other people. Bring a couple people with you if you want. I mean, set up a group meet if you want to do it. Say we want to learn from you, and it's people. Everyone loves to be flattered, no doubt about that. You're the expert.
Yes.
Think I'm an expert. Think I'm successful. Well, I'm glad you're thinking that, and I will be happy to share whatever I know. We need to bring in new young staff members, new young board members. We need to have you share your visions with us. The technology,
Mhm.
what communicate, the way to connect you with the content, with the solutions that exist, with the resources that exist right now. We want you to take our place, so that that communities have an even brighter future uh, than they otherwise would have.
Okay, so again, I only have two more questions for you, but so we have a lot like the audience. I'm a professional fighter. I'm an actor. So the audience that we have here, and I'm a community member of like the Lions Den boxing community and TWT. So the community we have here is from all over the United States. My side question is. If someone from outside of this city called because of the information you shared today, would you be able to redirect them to sources nearest to them or something like that?
We
Because I
can.
know your target demographic is here.
Correct, in Pittsburgh. Well, every city has the same issues, has the same
Yes.
opportunities available, and there are people in place. And by going to the national conferences, by looking at the national literature, I mean, I know people all over the place, and probably very quickly we can find somebody that's in your city. If you look up Cities United, um, um, which is an organization that I've been a part of through my work with the city of Pittsburgh. We've got cities across the country who are doing violence prevention and in a comprehensive way, which includes
Mhm.
all the support services that people need from younger ages to older ages, including reentry services, including community development services. There are people everywhere that can say the same thing that I'm saying. They have their own different perspective a little bit on that, but we're going in the same direction. We really need to.
Yes.
We're all moving in those directions. Every city's got an urban league chapter. They've got an
Hmm.
NAACP chapters. They've got their versions of other community organizations that have the same goals. It's
Yeah.
really showing up in those spaces wherever they
Right.
may be, because they are trying to go in the right direction. They're not there to be stupid. You may think they're stupid. You may think they're not doing anything, but that might just be because you're not there, and they need to know what you know. I mean, who's not going to help someone if you tell me today, I know someone who needs a serious help right now to save their life, we'll find the help for them. Someone's going to
Right.
help. But and in every city, those organizations are trying to help, and they will do whatever they can when someone comes with a concrete need that needs to be solved, or if they know that there is a pocket of individuals who need certain kinds of help. The NAACP, the Urban League chapter, the Mad Dad chapter, or lots of other groups, they will come to the assistance. The fraternities, the sororities, you're not going to let someone go unmet. They're looking for that, and so we have to just take it. Even though they might look frivolous on the outside, that maybe all it looks like all they do is party, but that's not true. They're there because they have spent the time in the trenches, and they're partying because they're tired of all the work they've been doing. So they've been fighting all these fights for so many years. So there is resources in every city, and if anybody wants to talk, we can. There's always a way to figure out who in another city can help you. If you need that help, I'll be glad. Send me an email. We'll find a way.
Thank you. And these last two questions I'll deliver at once, and they'll go uninterrupted. After you're done, I'll ask you how they can follow, support, and reach out, and that'll be your time. So, or all of the time that I need from you. So, what is a strategy or tactic that you use on a daily basis? And then, is there any story that you'd like to share, or any wise words that you'd like to share and leave the people with?
On a daily basis, make a list of things you got to get done.
Yes.
Check it off.
Give me
Check
one more. I'm sorry. Give me one more because that's my everyday.
Yeah, make that to-do list. Set your own goals and focus on your goals. They may not be able to get done in one day, But you gotta know what direction you're going, or you won't be going in any direction. You just be wandering around aimlessly. So, what is the goal? If you don't have a goal, someone else will will take you with them on their goal, which may not be what you want to do, which may end up getting you in prison. So don't follow that. Don't follow them. You got to follow your own goal, which does not include any prison. It includes success. So you got to follow that. You've got to set that goal, write it down, look at it every day, find and look at what the individual small steps that it's going to take to get to that goal. Because you're not going to get to be a doctor tomorrow, but you might. But if you set a plan, you will get there. Um, then you've got to find the right people to help you go through those steps so you can get to that goal. And there's another question as well. I think I might have forgotten.
The second part was share some wise words or maybe an experience that you want to leave the viewers with. But I love the connection to the tactic. But yeah, if there's anything else you'd like to share with the audience, as well as how can they follow you, how can they support you if they want to directly engage with you, you can leave them with that.
My what the wise words is invest in yourself,
Mm, yes,
learn,
sir.
read, watch, become a critical thinker. We can't be throwing away everything about someone because they might say one thing that's stupid. We have to
Mhm.
there's going to be truth even there, and so find but you've got to know how to pick it out. Just because the computer says something because you ask Chat GPT doesn't mean it's true. But you need to find out what part of it is true, and if you don't know how to think critically, you can be sent in all sorts of bizarre directions. So make sure that you do that you're able to hear from people's advice, take the good parts, throw away the bad parts, keep learning, uh, travel, go to other cities, look around, see what they're like, see how similar we are. Get out of the United States for a few days, weeks, or months at some point in your life. See the rest of this world. There's a whole lot of world here, and you're not stuck. You may feel like you're stuck in Homewood or in whatever city you may be in, but you're not. Find a way to go somewhere. Take advantage of that travel opportunity to see something new, to open your horizons, open your head, put something new in there. If you only see the neighborhood that you're in, you're missing a whole lot of world. And if that world is out there for you to take advantage of, for you to utilize, to inspire you to do good things. And Operation Better Block is always in need of help. We're always in need of volunteers for various things. We need a financial support. We need people that are wise to help guide us in the directions we're trying to go, each of our programs. So we are here at 412-731-1908, or you can just send me an email at jgilmer at obbinc.org. Send me an email. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. We do need support. We're always in need of support. I mean, these problems are just going to take the entire community. So if you're in Pittsburgh and want to partner, let me know. If you're outside of Pittsburgh and just want to support, please do so. If you want any inspiration about how to do what we're doing in your communities, we can help you to find that too.
Guys, I usually try to have a list of questions, go through them, unpack everything, and he did this guy here. He's beating me to questions. He's unpacking things. I'm like, so we can't go through everything to unpack in one specialty that he has because he does a lot. So we will find a way to steal more of his time and focus in on one thing. It was an amazing experience to have with you, Mr. J. Gilmer. You gave us so much insight, so much things to think about, so many things to think about, and so many different ways to get active in finding our mentors, getting engaged in our community, and starting those non-for-profits if we seek to desire. I mean, if we seek to actually change and have an effect on the entire world. That said, I'm very appreciative of your time. I had you here longer than I planned.
Oh,
You can say your salutations to the audience and hit that X in the upper right corner, and
okay.
I'll give us a closing out. But again, thank you for your time, and we got to have you back. Unpack some franchise things specific to franchises or other
Sure,
things like that.
sure. Well, to God be the glory. Uh, give God the credit, because when you're giving God the credit, you can't go wrong. Thanks for having me. I look forward to seeing you all. Good luck in your futures, and I look forward to talking to you again as well. Bye
Yes,
bye.
sir. All right, family. Y'all know how we do. That's all I had for them. You've successfully reached in your finance tool bag. One more again. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. Shout out to the TWT. Shout out to everybody who came through. Shout out the whole CBC. That's the Code Black community. It's a Code Black affair, and that's everybody who comes to this channel. So I appreciate you. I love y'all. Hopefully it was very insightful. Again, he does so much so that it was like, if you wanted to become a lawyer, we couldn't just unpack that. The guy's an executive leader or executive director of Operation Better Block. He's affiliated with many different other nonprofits. So I just hope that we were able to provide some value for you guys. But again, that said, TWT, LDBC, CBC, Trilitary, love y'all. And until next time, deuces.